What if the happiness you're chasing isn't waiting in the future, but already exists in the moments you're ignoring right now? We live in a world that constantly pushes the idea that happiness is waiting for us in some distant future. It's the promise that life will finally feel complete once we achieve that big goal, land that dream job, find the perfect relationship, or secure a certain amount of money. It's the idea that someday everything will fall into place, and when it does, we'll finally be at peace. But that someday always seems to be just out of reach. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how hard you work, it feels like there's always another level, another milestone, another goal to chase. And so, you keep running, you keep striving, convincing yourself that the next achievement will finally make you feel whole. But it never does. The problem isn't that you're not working hard enough, or that you haven't reached the right goal yet. The problem is the belief that happiness exists somewhere in the future rather than in the present. This mindset creates a dangerous illusion, the illusion that life will begin once you've accomplished enough. But life isn't waiting for you on the other side of some goal. Life is happening right now, in this moment. And the more you chase the future, the more you rob yourself of the peace and fulfillment that are already available to you. Think about the last time you achieved something significant. Maybe you got the promotion you had been working toward for years. Maybe you finally bought the house you always dreamed of. Maybe you reached a fitness goal or crossed something off your bucket list. How long did the satisfaction last? A day? A week? A month at most? That's the thing about living for the future. Even when you reach the thing you were chasing, it never feels like enough. You immediately start thinking about what's next. You tell yourself, okay, this is great, but now I need to take it to the next level. And the cycle begins all over again. It's easy to believe that this cycle is just a sign of ambition, that always wanting more means you're motivated, driven, and hungry for success. But in reality, it's a sign that you've tied your self-worth and happiness to an outcome. You've convinced yourself that peace and fulfillment are waiting for you on the other side of success. But it's a trap, one that will keep you restless and unsatisfied no matter how much you accomplish. The truth is, the future is not where happiness lives. It never has been. Happiness exists in the small, quiet moments that are happening right now. It's in the warmth of the sun on your face. It's in the laughter you share with a close friend. It's in the satisfaction of doing meaningful work, even when no one is watching. The irony is that by constantly chasing the future, you blind yourself to the joy and peace that are already available to you. There's a certain kind of emptiness that comes from always living for what's next. You tell yourself that once you reach a certain level of success, you'll finally feel confident. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come from achieving more. It comes from accepting yourself as you are right now. You tell yourself that once you make enough money, you'll finally feel secure. But the truth is, security doesn't come from a bank account. It comes from knowing that you can handle whatever life throws at you. You tell yourself that once you find the right person, you'll finally feel whole. But the truth is, wholeness doesn't come from someone else. It comes from learning to feel complete on your own. The problem with living for the future is that it makes you believe you're incomplete until you get there. But you're not incomplete. You already have everything you need to feel whole. The only thing standing in your way is the belief that you need more time, more money, more success to finally be enough. Let that belief go. You don't need to wait for some future moment to feel at peace. You can choose to feel it right now, in this moment. You can stop chasing and start living. When you let go of the idea that happiness is waiting for you in the future, you free yourself from the endless cycle of striving. You begin to understand that life isn't about reaching some final destination. It's about learning to find peace and fulfillment in the process. It's about learning to appreciate the journey, not just the outcome. And when you stop running toward the future and start showing up fully for the present, you discover a kind of peace that no external achievement could ever give you. You don't need to keep waiting for life to begin. Life is happening right now. All you have to do is stop chasing and start paying attention. The mind is an incredible tool, but it can also be a source of suffering when it becomes too fixated on what's next. It's easy to get lost in the constant mental chatter about the future, the plans, the worries, the endless what-ifs. You find yourself always thinking about the next step, the next goal, the next stage of life, as if the present moment is nothing more than a stepping stone towards something greater. But that mindset creates a subtle but dangerous problem. It disconnects you from the life you are living right now. You become so focused on where you're going that you fail to notice where you are. It's tempting to believe that thinking about the future constantly is a form of preparation, that if you just plan hard enough and anticipate every outcome, you'll somehow be able to control what happens. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much you plan, you can't control every variable. The future is always uncertain, and the more you try to mentally grasp it, the more you distance yourself from the peace available in the present. The mind creates stories about how things might unfold, and those stories become a source of anxiety. What if things don't go as planned? What if you fail? What if you don't measure up? The fear of the unknown becomes so overwhelming that you convince yourself that you need more time, more preparation, more control before you can finally feel at ease. But that's an illusion. The peace you're searching for isn't hidden in some perfect outcome. It's hidden in your ability to stop needing to know what happens next. Think about how much mental energy you've spent worrying about things that never actually happened. The sleepless nights spent replaying conversations in your head, imagining the worst-case scenarios, building an entire mental narrative about how things could go wrong, only to realize later that none of it actually unfolded the way you feared. That's the mind's trap. It convinces you that thinking about the future protects you from pain, but in reality, it robs you of peace. The truth is, the future is out of your hands. No matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you plan, there will always be factors beyond your control. The real power lies in accepting that uncertainty and finding peace in the middle of it. You've probably experienced moments when life didn't go according to plan. Maybe you thought you had a clear path forward, only to have everything fall apart at the last moment. Maybe you lost an opportunity you were counting on, or a relationship you thought would last forever ended unexpectedly. In those moments, you're forced to confront the truth that no amount of mental preparation can protect you from life's unpredictability. But if you think back, you'll realize that those setbacks didn't destroy you. Somehow you adapted, you found a way forward. The fear you had about the future was never as powerful as your ability to respond to the present. That's the thing about the mind. It makes the future seem more dangerous than it actually is. It tricks you into believing that you need certainty to feel safe. But you don't. What you need is the ability to trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. The mind resists the present moment because the present moment is unpredictable. There's a certain comfort in thinking about the future because it creates the illusion of control. But life isn't about control. Life is about presence. It's about learning to sit with uncertainty without letting it steal your peace. It's about realizing that no matter what happens tomorrow, you are enough today. There's a kind of quiet strength that comes from stepping back from the mental noise and allowing yourself to just exist in the moment. To breathe, to feel the ground beneath your feet, to release the need to know what comes next. That strength isn't found in the future. It's found in your ability to meet life as it is, not as you wish it would be. The irony is that the more you stop trying to control the future, the more peace you find in the present. You start to see that you don't need to have every detail figured out. You don't need to anticipate every outcome. You just need to trust that you'll be able to handle whatever comes next. The mind will try to pull you back into overthinking, into analysis, into planning for every possible outcome, but you don't have to follow that pull. You can notice it, breathe through it, and remind yourself that you are already equipped to handle life as it unfolds. You don't need to live 5 steps ahead. You just need to show up fully for this moment. There's a kind of freedom that comes from letting go of the need to predict and control the future. You realize that life isn't happening in some distant tomorrow. It's happening right now. And the more you stop trying to escape the present, the more peace you find in it. The mind will always try to pull you into the future, but you don't have to go there. You can choose to stay here, grounded in this moment, knowing that whatever happens next, you have the strength to face it. One of the greatest traps of living for the future is the belief that happiness lies somewhere ahead of you. It's easy to convince yourself that once you achieve a certain goal, once you reach a specific milestone, then and only then you'll finally feel satisfied. The mind creates this idea that happiness is always just one step away. Once you graduate, once you land that job, once you find the right person, once you reach a certain level of success, that's when life will finally feel complete. But that's a dangerous illusion, because the goalposts are always moving. The moment you reach one milestone, the mind immediately starts chasing the next one. And so you remain stuck in a perpetual cycle of seeking, always looking ahead, always believing that the next achievement will be the one that finally makes you feel whole. That's the problem with attaching happiness to outcomes. It places your sense of peace in the hands of something outside yourself. It ties your emotional well-being to events and circumstances that you can't fully control. And even when you achieve what you set out to do, the feeling of satisfaction is often fleeting. You feel a brief sense of accomplishment, but then the mind starts asking, "What's next?" It's never enough. You tell yourself that you'll be happy when you make more money, when you're in better shape, when you finally gain recognition. But when you get there, the satisfaction fades quickly. And suddenly, you're chasing something else, believing that the next goal will finally give you the fulfillment you're searching for, but it never does. Because happiness isn't found in external accomplishments, it's found in your ability to be present, to feel gratitude for what you have, and to find peace in the process, not just the outcome. There's nothing wrong with ambition, there's nothing wrong with working toward a goal, but when your happiness depends on the outcome, you put yourself in a vulnerable position, because life is unpredictable. Not every goal will be achieved. Not every plan will unfold the way you expect. If your happiness is conditional on things working out a certain way, you've set yourself up for disappointment. True peace comes from being able to work toward something while remaining detached from the outcome. It's about understanding that the process itself holds value, the growth, the discipline, the resilience you build along the way. That's where real fulfillment comes from. It's not about the trophy at the end, it's about the person you become through the pursuit. Think about how often you've convinced yourself that you need something external to feel whole. Maybe you've thought, "I'll finally feel confident when I lose the weight," or "I'll feel secure when I have a certain amount of money in the bank." But the problem is that even if you reach those goals, the feeling of completeness is temporary, because the mind isn't looking for peace, it's looking for the next high. That's why people can achieve extraordinary success and still feel empty. That's why you can reach a personal goal and still feel restless. The external achievement might give you a brief sense of validation, but it can't provide the deep internal peace you're seeking. That peace comes from learning how to be content with who you are right now, not with who you might become later. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that life is leading somewhere, that you're working toward a final destination where everything will finally make sense. But there is no final destination. Life isn't a straight line leading toward a moment of ultimate fulfillment. It's a series of moments, some good, some difficult, and the ability to stay present through all of them is what determines your happiness. You don't have to wait until you achieve something to feel at peace. You don't have to postpone joy until you've accomplished more. The most dangerous lie the mind tells you is that you aren't enough yet, that you'll be whole once you have more money, more recognition, more success. But you are already whole. Nothing external can make you more complete than you already are. The mind will try to convince you that happiness is something to be earned, that once you've reached a certain level of success or stability, you'll finally feel at peace. But that's a false promise. The feeling you're searching for isn't hidden in some future achievement. It's hidden in your ability to be present in the process, to wake up and appreciate where you are right now, even if things aren't perfect. To find joy in the ordinary moments, the quiet mornings, the conversations with friends, the simple acts of being alive. That's where peace is found, not in the future, not in some distant outcome, but in your ability to be fully present in the life you are living today. It's not about giving up on your goals or abandoning your ambitions. It's about shifting your focus away from the outcome and toward the present moment. It's about understanding that life isn't something you'll figure out later. It's something you are living right now. You don't need to chase happiness. You don't need to wait until you've accomplished more. You have the power to experience peace and fulfillment right now, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped needing it to be. That's where true freedom begins, when you realize that nothing in the future can give you more peace than you can find within yourself today. One of the most dangerous aspects of living for the future is that it makes you blind to the value of the present moment. When your mind is constantly focused on what's next, you stop noticing the life that's happening right in front of you. It's easy to fall into the pattern of thinking that today is just a stepping stone, a bridge to something better. You tell yourself that once you get through this phase, once you complete this project, once you reach that goal, then you'll finally be able to slow down and enjoy life. But life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It's happening now, in this moment. And when you're so focused on the future, you miss the beauty that exists right here, right now. There's a quiet kind of tragedy in always looking ahead. You wake up each morning and immediately start thinking about the day's tasks, the things you need to accomplish, the problems you need to solve. Your mind is already living hours, days, even months ahead of where you are, and because of that, you overlook the simple joys that exist in your immediate reality. The feeling of sunlight on your skin, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the quiet peace of a still morning. These moments are the fabric of life, but when your mind is occupied with the future, you walk right past them without noticing. You become so consumed with where you're going that you forget to appreciate where you are. Living for the future creates a sense of emptiness because it puts happiness on hold. It conditions you to believe that fulfillment is always just out of reach, that once you have more money, more success, more recognition, then you'll finally feel whole. But life doesn't work that way. There will always be another goal, another challenge, another milestone. If you can't find joy and peace in the present moment, you'll never find it in the future. Because the mind will always invent new reasons to be restless. It will always tell you that you need more success, more time, more answers. But peace isn't found by accumulating more. It's found by learning how to sit still and appreciate what already exists. Think about how often you've rushed through life without paying attention to what's happening around you. Maybe you've driven to work without even noticing the scenery along the way. Maybe you've eaten a meal without tasting the food because your mind was busy replaying a conversation or planning tomorrow's schedule. That's the danger of living for the future. It pulls you away from the richness of life. It makes you go through the motions without really experiencing them. And then you look back and wonder where the time went. You wonder why you feel unfulfilled even though you've achieved so much. It's because you were never fully present. You were always thinking about what's next instead of embracing what's now. The truth is, the only place where life actually happens is the present moment. The future is just a mental construct. It's an idea, a projection of your mind. It doesn't exist yet. And the past is gone. You can't change it or relive it. The only thing you have control over is how you show up in this moment. The only place where you can experience joy, connection, and peace is right here. But the mind will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that you need to secure the future before you can relax. It will tell you that you need to have answers before you can feel at peace. That's a trap, because the future is never guaranteed. And even if it does unfold the way you hope, the feeling you're searching for won't last unless you've learned how to appreciate the present. Think about how children experience the world. They don't obsess over the future. They don't worry about what's going to happen next week or next year. They immerse themselves fully in the moment. They feel joy from simple things, a game, a conversation, a quiet moment of curiosity. That's not because they have simpler lives. It's because they haven't learned to project their happiness into the future. They know how to be present, and that's something most adults have forgotten how to do. We've been taught that life is about building towards something, about accomplishing more, about securing the future. But that's an illusion. Life isn't happening later, it's happening right now. And the ability to be present, to really experience this moment without mentally drifting into the future, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It's easy to convince yourself that you're too busy to slow down, that you have too much to figure out before you can relax. But the truth is, slowing down is not a luxury, it's a necessity. You can't experience true fulfillment if you're not fully present for your own life. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how everything is going to turn out. You don't have to be at the finish line to feel at peace. The key is to let go of the need for certainty and trust that this moment, exactly as it is, holds value. You don't need to wait until you've achieved more to feel whole. You can feel whole right now. Not because life is perfect, but because you've learned how to appreciate the imperfection of the present moment. It's not about ignoring the future or abandoning your goals. It's about shifting your attention back to where life is actually happening, right here. The future will unfold the way it's meant to. You can't control every outcome, but you can control how present you are for the moments you've been given. That's where peace is found. Not in the certainty of what's to come, but in the quiet strength of knowing that you are enough, exactly as you are, in this moment. One of the most common reasons people cling to the future is because they believe it will somehow fix what's wrong with the present. They tell themselves that once they reach a certain point, once they have more money, once they're in a better relationship, once they've achieved more success, then everything will finally feel right. But the truth is, the future is not a solution. It's not a place where all your problems magically disappear. If you're unhappy now, achieving more or having more in the future won't fix that. Because dissatisfaction doesn't come from a lack of external achievement, it comes from the mind's inability to accept the present moment as it is. When you live for the future, you're essentially rejecting the present. You're telling yourself that this moment isn't enough, that happiness is waiting somewhere down the road. But when you finally reach that imagined future, you'll realize that the mind has already moved the goalpost. It will always create a new problem, a new condition for happiness. That's why fulfillment is never found in chasing the future. It's found in learning how to be at peace with the present, even when it's not perfect. There's a dangerous pattern that forms when you start believing that the future holds the answers. You begin to postpone your happiness. You convince yourself that you'll relax once you've achieved a certain milestone, that you'll feel whole once you've secured a certain outcome. But that moment never comes. Even when you achieve what you set out to accomplish, you'll find yourself immediately shifting your focus to the next goal, the next challenge, and the cycle continues. You might tell yourself that you're building toward something meaningful, that all this effort and sacrifice will eventually lead to peace and fulfillment. But what you're actually doing is training your mind to always live in the future. You're creating a pattern where happiness is always conditional, always waiting on the next achievement, and that's not sustainable. Because no matter how much you achieve, your mind will continue to invent new reasons to feel restless. It's easy to believe that this mindset is helping you, that staying focused on the future is what drives you to succeed. And yes, ambition and drive are important. But there's a fine line between working toward a goal and attaching your happiness to it. When you believe that your peace depends on a certain outcome, you put yourself in a position where you can't ever truly relax. You might experience brief moments of satisfaction when you hit a goal or cross something off your list, but that feeling is temporary. The mind will quickly shift to the next challenge, the next perceived gap that needs to be filled. That's why some of the most accomplished people in the world still feel empty. They've achieved everything they set out to do, but they still feel restless because they've conditioned their mind to always look ahead, to always search for the next fix. The problem isn't that you want more for your life. It's that you believe the future holds something that the present doesn't. You believe that peace, joy, and fulfillment are waiting on the other side of achievement. But peace isn't something you find. It's something you create, and you can only create it in the present moment. No amount of success will give you that. No future accomplishment will suddenly make you feel whole, because true fulfillment doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from how you show up for the life you have right now. It's about learning how to be at peace with the uncertainty, with the imperfections, with the moments that don't go according to plan. It's about realizing that you don't need to have all the answers to feel at peace. You don't need to control the future to feel secure. You need to stop running from the present and learn how to sit with it. Even when it feels uncomfortable, that's the hardest part, learning how to be still when your mind wants to escape. It's easy to distract yourself with goals and plans. It's harder to sit with the discomfort of the present moment and accept it as it is. But that's where growth happens. That's where peace is found, not in controlling the future, but in learning how to stay grounded when life feels uncertain. When you stop believing that the future holds the answers, you start to experience a different kind of freedom. You stop chasing and start noticing. You start finding joy in simple things. A quiet conversation, the sound of rain, the feeling of being fully present in a moment. And you realize that this is what you've been searching for all along. Not more success, not more certainty, just the ability to be here, fully here, without needing anything to be different. It's not about abandoning your goals or giving up on the future. It's about recognizing that the future is not the solution. You can still work towards something meaningful, you can still strive to grow and improve, but you don't have to postpone your happiness until you get there. You don't have to wait for life to be perfect to feel at peace. You can feel it now, even in the uncertainty, even when things aren't going according to plan, even when you don't have all the answers. Because the truth is, life will never be perfect. The future will always be uncertain. But if you can learn how to be present in the midst of that uncertainty, If you can learn how to stop searching and start noticing, that's where real peace begins. We tend to measure our lives by milestones, by the big moments of achievement, the breakthroughs, the visible signs of progress. But the truth is, life is not made up of those big moments. Life is happening right now, in the quiet, ordinary spaces between them. It's easy to overlook these moments because they don't feel significant. They're not dramatic or life-changing. But these seemingly insignificant moments are where life actually happens. Waiting for the future to deliver some grand moment of happiness blinds you to the fact that life is unfolding right in front of you every single day. If you're not present for the ordinary moments, the simple joys of a morning walk, the quiet comfort of a conversation with a friend, the feeling of sunlight on your face, then you're missing life. Because life isn't found in the future, it's found in the present, in the small and often overlooked details that make up your days. The problem with focusing on the future is that it teaches you to overlook the present. You start to believe that the future is where real life will begin, that once you reach a certain goal or fix a certain problem, then you can start enjoying life. But that moment never comes. There's always a new goal to chase, a new problem to solve. And while you're busy waiting for the future to deliver happiness, you're missing the very thing you're searching for. Because happiness doesn't arrive in one big moment. It's not something you achieve, it's something you create by how you engage with the present moment. The quiet moments of your day, the ones you tend to overlook, are the ones that actually define the quality of your life. If you spend your days chasing the future, you're essentially trading the present for a promise that may never come. And even if it does come, it won't last, because the mind will quickly shift to the next thing, the next problem, the next perceived gap that needs to be filled. It's easy to think that focusing on the future is a sign of ambition, that constantly working towards something greater means you're improving your life. But real growth doesn't happen in the future. It happens in the choices you make every day, in the way you handle the small moments of your life, how you approach a simple task, how you respond to an unexpected challenge, how present you are with the people around you. That's where real progress happens. If you're always focused on the future, you miss the opportunity to grow in the present. You miss the chance to develop resilience, patience, and inner strength. Because those qualities aren't built through achieving big goals. They're built through how you handle the small, everyday moments of life. The future may hold new opportunities, but your ability to face them with strength and confidence is built in the present. There's a certain kind of emptiness that comes from constantly living in the future. You might be busy, you might have a full schedule and a long list of goals, but you can still feel disconnected from your own life. Because when you're always focused on what's next, you're not really here. You're going through the motions, but you're not truly present. And that disconnection creates a sense of emptiness, a feeling that no amount of success or accomplishment can fill. The irony is that the fulfillment you're searching for isn't waiting in the future, it's waiting in the present. It's found in the ability to slow down, to notice the small details of your life, to appreciate the ordinary moments that you've been conditioned to overlook. It's not about doing less or giving up on your goals. It's about shifting your attention to the life that's happening right now. Living in the present doesn't mean you stop planning for the future or working toward your goals. It means you stop attaching your happiness to those future outcomes. You stop believing that peace and fulfillment are waiting on the other side of achievement, because they're not. True peace comes from knowing that you don't need anything to be different in order to feel whole. You don't need to fix your life before you can enjoy it. You can find joy and peace right now. Even if things aren't perfect, even if you haven't reached your goals yet. Because life isn't something you arrive at, it's something you experience. And the only place you can experience it is in the present moment. It's a shift in mindset. From searching to noticing. From chasing to appreciating. It's about recognizing that the life you're waiting for is already here. The quiet moments of your day, the ones you overlook because they don't seem significant, are where life is happening. If you can learn to be present for those moments, to slow down and fully engage with them, you'll start to realize that happiness isn't something you find, it's something you create, not in the future, but in the present. And the more you learn to be present for the small, ordinary details of your life, the more you'll realize that this, right here, right now, is enough. Stop waiting for life to begin. Because it's not hiding in the future, it's right here, right now, if you have the courage to live it.